It's January 1st, 1936. 3 years ago, Hitler was democratically elected as Chancellor of Germany. Shortly after his appointment, he seized the opportunity to consolidate power. On February 27, 1933, the Reichstag burned. The fire was allegedly started by a young communist from the Netherlands. Hitler had long been looking for a way to seize control, and this was his chance. The day after, a new law was passed. The Decree for the Protection of People and the State gave him the power he desired. In the following months, the German police state was formed, with the goal of destroying the opponents of the National Socialist Party. This succeeded, and by 1936, power increasingly lay in the hands of Hitler and his followers. The story we will follow is how Adolf Hitler attempts to expand the Third Reich and establish a future of National Socialism. January 1936. The preceding years had not been easy for Hitler. In Germany, he had to consolidate power. Outside Germany, he had to negotiate with his despised opponents from the First World War. Germany was heavily punished. Economically, it was hit hard by reparations. Militarily, it was forced to maintain a small army with a small fleet and almost no air force due to stringent restrictions. These military restrictions were soon set aside, and the army was gradually expanded through various means. But now, in 1936, the confrontation with the victors of the First World War would be sought. At least, that was the idea. February 28. The German army needed significant expansion to be able to stand its ground in a potential future war. The 30 divisions the army currently had were insufficient to wage war against the great powers, let alone multiple at once. For this reason, it was decided to expand the army by 35 additional divisions, doubling the total force. Additionally, a new way of warfare was being developed. The First World War had shown that tanks and airplanes could significantly change trench warfare, which had provided protection for troops for years. The army, together with the Air Force, was tasked with devising a new strategy to prevent a stalemated war. Besides military reforms, attention also needed to be given to Germany's industry and economy. Hjalmar Schacht, captain of industry and former Minister of Economy, told a newspaper,
"Our industry has been held back for years due to restrictions. In recent months, we have taken steps to bring it back up to standard. In the near future, we will take some additional steps forward."
The country, which originally had a strong industrial base, was crippled by the Treaty of Versailles. The industry needed to be rebuilt to support a future war. This would create employment, something Hitler used to win over his people. One of the aspects of the Treaty of Versailles that greatly annoyed Hitler was the demilitarization of the Rhineland. This was an area next to the French border, where no German troops were allowed since the loss of the war. Besides bordering the former enemy, it was also a strong economic region with significant industry. In a war, this industry would be highly vulnerable, a problem that needed addressing for later. War. In Spain, Franco, a fascist general, has decided to take up arms and fight against the Republican government of President Aznar, a conflict that had been brewing but now has led to actual fighting. Spain was divided into roughly two parts, with the nationalists of Franco controlling one part and the Republicans the rest. Other countries would have to decide how to respond to this conflict. Volunteers from many countries would go to Spain to fight their political opponents. Adolf Hitler has decided to intervene in the conflict in Spain. He cannot allow a fellow fascist to lose the war there. The decision was made to send 2 divisions of volunteers who, in name, were not from Germany, but would gain experience and help a friendly leader. The new 4th Army, including the 3rd and 12th Infantry Divisions, was to gather in Berlin under the command of Karl Student. From there, they would be sent to Spain to join the fight. Karl Student was a prominent general in the German army. Born on May 12, 1890 in Birkenau, Germany, Student became an influential military figure. He began his military career during the First World War, serving as a pilot in the Luftstreitkräfte, the Air Force of the German Empire. After the war, he remained active in military circles and joined the Luftwaffe when it was established in 1935 as the Air Force of Nazi Germany. On April 7th, a new opportunity presented itself, leading the Fourth Army in Spain, an opportunity he could not pass up. In his memoirs, General Student wrote about this moment.
The Führer had given me an enormously great opportunity to take the next step in my career. I had to seize this chance. It would not be easy to lead thousands of young men in a civil war as fierce as the one in Spain, but I had every confidence that I was the right person to get the job done.
On April 14, 1933, the new Fourth Army gathered in the capital Berlin. The people bid their heroes farewell as they departed for Spain by sea. 2 weeks later, they arrived at the Spanish city of Coruña, where they were immediately sent by train to the front. On May 1st, they arrived by train northeast of Madrid, where intense fighting was taking place between multiple divisions of both sides. The Fourth Army's goal was to break through towards the Republican capital, Madrid, dealing a significant blow to the enemy. Reorganizing after this long journey took some time, and the first 7 days at the front were spent recovering and preparing for combat. One of the soldiers preparing for the war was Heinrich Müller. He grew up in a modest working-class family in Berlin. His father, Hans Müller, was a factory worker who worked long hours to provide food and shelter for the family. His mother, Anna Müller, worked as a seamstress to bring in extra income. Heinrich had an older sister, Greta, who always cared for him like a second mother. In 1936, at the age of 20, Heinrich decided to enlist in the German army. The promise of a steady income and the chance to escape poverty were appealing. Moreover, Heinrich felt a growing patriotism and a desire to serve his homeland in these turbulent times. Despite his initial enthusiasm, Heinrich's kind and gentle nature remained intact. He was determined to be a soldier who treated his fellow humans with respect and dignity. He joined the 12th Infantry Division, who was about to take part in the fighting for Madrid. In a letter to his sister Greta, Heinrich wrote about his first weeks on the way to the front.
When we received the news that I had to pack my things to go to Spain, I was very excited but also nervous. The journey here was long, and along the way, we tried to train as much as we could whenever there was time. We've been here for almost a week now, and the rumor is that we may be preparing for battle any moment. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm also anxious. I think of you and our parents. Send them my regards, and I will write again soon.
The first battle of the Fourth Army took place on May 7th, when Karl Student decided to deploy his troops in support of a nationalist division, launching an attack in the same area. The Spanish division attacked 2 Republican units, the 1st Cavalry and 13th Brigade. These were already weakened by an offensive they had initiated slightly west of where the German divisions were stationed. The attack by the 2 German divisions took place along a railway line, which immediately caused supply problems for the enemy. After 5 days of fighting, Student noticed that his opponent was weakening. The cavalry division facing him was disoriented, with many troops fleeing, and the German army created easy breakthroughs against them. The 13th Brigade of the Republicans, despite being at half strength, held out better and was well entrenched on the hills along the railway. The Republican Cavalry Division eventually broke on May 13th and had to retreat, leaving the 13th Brigade to bear the full brunt of the German and Spanish units. In the first 2 days of attacks on their lines, they seemed to hold out, but on May 15th, cracks began to show. German units broke through the defenses on the hills, causing more and more units of the brigade to either retreat or surrender due to a lack of good communication. The next day, the brigade eventually retreated from the area, conceding the battle. The plan was to establish a new defensive line closer to Madrid. General Student knew he had to take advantage of this new situation. His opponent had retreated in chaos and would struggle to stop the German units. The two German divisions had not faced significant problems and could quickly organize a new attack. To prevent his army from being cut off, General Student ordered the 12th Division to remain in the area from which the original attack was launched. They were to defend the rear, while the 3rd Division would attempt a breakthrough towards Madrid. On May 18th, the attack was launched, and it quickly became clear that there was an opportunity to encircle a Republican division to the west. The 3rd Division made rapid progress. The 12th Division, entrenched in their old positions, was attacked by two fresh new Republican units determined to reclaim the lost territory. Suddenly, there was a risk of encirclement. The division was well entrenched and could hold out for some time, but it was unknown how many units the Republicans could reinforce. To mitigate the risk, Student decided to withdraw his 3rd Division back towards the 12th. Greta wrote a letter to her brother.
Dear Heinrich, it has been a long time since we heard from you. How are things going in Spain? Everything is fine here. The weather has been nice for a while, and Father and Mother's work is going well. I have started looking for a job myself. I am applying to companies in the industry as a secretary. Due to the renewed focus on the military, there is a lot of work in that area. We hope that everything is good with you, and if you have time, please write to us about your experiences. Lots of love, Greta.